Hi guys, welcome back to Real Estate Informed, the channel that keeps you up to date on all things real estate. My name is Kevin, and today I want to talk about how to invest in markets that are really expensive with extremely low cap rates and basically no cash flow. How do you continue to invest in those regions? And so today I want to talk about that, and hopefully you guys have questions and follow along with me.
Hey, my name's Kevin, and I've been in real estate for over 10 years. I'm a real estate broker, investor, and flipper. I also own my own real estate company, and I give you the real deal on real estate, not that fake stuff you see on TV. From the latest news in real estate to one of my recent projects or renovations. You'll see it all here on this channel from someone who's on the front lines, keeping you up to date on all things real estate.
Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about, low cap rates, and give you an example of, is this property right here. So now this property right here is a duplex. It's in the city of Renton, and the property, is $749,950,000. It has annual taxes of $4516. Each unit is 3-bedroom, 1 bath. $1,600 on one side, $1,850 on the other side. They claim that the cap rate is 4.8%. First things first is we all know you never listen to that. Cap rates are just made up by these agents. Sometimes they're performer rent, sometimes they're not. So let's just run these numbers, and just out of curiosity, let's put this into the Zillow mortgage calculator and see what we get. Okay, so if you add up the rents and you don't take away water, sewer, garbage, because some of that has to be put on the owner. So usually these older type duplexes, the water is usually paid by the owner. The garbage is probably, and electric are probably paid by, and if there's gas in the property, it's probably put to the owner. So let's just go through this property and let's just see what kind of deal this is. Now I do want to mention that this property is zoned R14, and there's the potential to develop property, more units on this property, but let's just take that out of the factor because that's not going to give you any cash flow today. The most important part about real estate is investing today that makes you money today. You can't buy a property. I mean, you can if you have the money and the means to support it, but you can't buy just vacant land and say you can build 14 townhouses on this, but until they're built, you're not going to make any cash flow. So let's just talk about people who are beginning to invest. And if you're beginning to invest, work the numbers on the deal that you have today. So, and the numbers that you have today. So on this property, when you run the numbers and you put it into Zillow calculator, let's just say $749,950. Usually it's 25% down. We're going to say you got lucky and you got a great credit union, smaller bank that will do 20% down. 4.5% interest rate on a investment property, unless you live in it, but let's just say it's an investment property. $4516 in tax, which will go up in this area, and homeowners insurance about $1,200 for a duplex. That's typical for the Seattle area. You're looking at $3516 is what your mortgage is going to be. $3516. Now let's calculate. 1850 plus 1600. 1850 plus 1600. That's 3450, right? So we're looking at a mortgage of 3516 minus 3415. 3450, sorry. So $66 out of your pocket every month just to buy this property. Now, let's take into account, now that is not taking into account vacancy. That is not taking into account repairs. That's not taking into account capital expenditures such as roof, siding, any type of major plumbing, sewer issues that the property might have, because this property is built in 1943. So any property in the 40s, I usually say anything before 1960, you want to get a sewer scope and make sure the sewer is okay, no roots, no trees, no nothing is bothered, that you might run into something like that in a property this old. If it's septic, you might run into a septic issue. So none of that involves none of that is into the calculation. This is as if it was a perfect property. One unit rented for $1,850, the other one rented for $1,600, and nothing wrong happened. You're still paying $66 a month out of your own pocket to rent this property, to own this property and quote unquote be an investor. In my opinion, is if you're paying money out of your pocket to, quote unquote be an investor, at that point you're not an investor, you're pretty much a hostage. It's a horrible situation. I do understand that in some markets, some people buy properties like this where they have to pay $100 to $200 out of their own pocket to own the property, even after rent, so they cash flow nothing. But it's such an expensive market that they'll buy it for $749, and a year or two later they can sell it for $1 million. And so they basically just bank on appreciation. My theory on oops, I hit my mic. My theory on banking on appreciation is it's a very scary, risky tactic. I would not recommend it, especially to, people who are new to the business. If you are a seasoned veteran and you have hundreds of properties, then sure, why not? You have a lot of backup. But I would say that, your first couple of investments, they don't have to be home runs, but they if you buy 5 or 6 houses and each house cash flows $1,000 a month, you're sitting on basically your primary income as your work, and then you're sitting on $5,000 to $6,000 a month that comes in off of passive income. After you buy those properties and those properties are great for you and they're working for you, you can then go and buy properties that you just buy for the appreciation, or you buy for, hey, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to keep it for a year, 2 years, rent it out. If I cash flow nothing, it's okay because I can sell it for $200,000 after I'm done, more than what I bought it for. So you can take those risks when you have already established yourself as an investor, and when your first couple of properties that you buy, 4 or 5 properties that you buy, you'll see that. So that was just an example of just in the Seattle market. This house was actually, this duplex was actually is in Renton, which is a very close suburb to Seattle, but it's closer to Bellevue, which is on the east side of Seattle, which is a very expensive area. Now that you see that the cap rates on areas like this are just ridiculous, you're basically putting money in to own the property. I want to next talk about what can you do to, suppose you live in an area like Seattle, New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, a very expensive area. How do you invest? My answer to that is you have to get creative. So in this video, I want to talk about the first thing that you can do to, still invest and still be a real estate investor and still make money even in an expensive market. Okay, so the first thing in this video that I want to talk about is in cities that have such, like New York, Seattle, Bay Area, Los Angeles, that have such expensive houses where a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house is over $1 million, you're going to have an affordability issue in those cities, meaning that rent is so high that there's going to be professionals, people that work at Microsoft, people that work at Amazon, that are, computer engineers that have to roommate up just to afford it. So then, if they have to roommate up, what about everyone below them that maybe don't have college degrees, who maybe, are more blue collar? How do they survive? So affordability is a major issue. So you really have to take into account, that's where I see that there's opportunity. And the opportunity that I'm talking about, that I'm going to talk about today, is to buy a house that has a unfinished basement. In the Seattle market, it's very common, but you can also work it on the east side of Seattle, in Bellevue, Renton, other places, is where there'll be a house that has an unfinished basement. And what you can do is you could buy the house, finish the basement, and then add the extra square footage to the house and either sell it or rent out the basement. But either way, so it's like, suppose there's a single family house, say, for $500,000 and it has an unfinished basement. What you can do is you could buy that house, finish the you do the permitting for it, finish the basement, add a little kitchenette, add a bathroom, finish that basement. And now preferably if you can find an unfinished basement that already has like the plumbing kind of ready, that's nearby, that you can put a bathroom in, just a point, not even a full bath, a 0.75 bath, a shower, a toilet, and a sink. That's it. And then you can add a little kitchenette area. It doesn't need to have a full kitchen. It could just be a kitchenette area and be like a little studio down there, with its own separate entrance. And so once you create that, and then you obviously, when you do all of the work, it's a single family house, but it's got a legal permitted basement that you got permits on when you repaired it. So one, you added square footage to the property. Second, when you sell it, you could sell it as a single family house, but also as a duplex. Not a legal conforming duplex, it could be a non-conforming duplex. But then the price of the value of the property went up. And when the value of the property goes up, that's where you benefit. So what you could do is you could live on the top and rent out the bottom once it's done, or you can, or you can just sell both of the units, or rent out both, not sell both of the units, rent out both of the units and cash flow. Because where the duplex I just showed you, which was $749, $750, you can buy a house and kind of create your own duplex. And so it's something to get your feet wet in on. So you could, and then another reason is when you buy that property, you can buy it as an investment and you'd have to put 25% down, or you could buy it as a primary residence and just say you're going to live up top, and you might. And then what you could do is you could actually live there and then finish the basement while you're living there, so that you get both benefits of, like, okay, you have a place to stay and you're finishing the basement. So once you finish the basement and you add in all of the things that you needed in that property, then you're pretty much set to go. You can either sell the property for more than $500,000, because now technically it's a non-conforming duplex. So the buyer who's going to buy that property is going to actually get tremendous benefit out of that, because they're going to get not only a single family residence, but they could rent out the basement to help with the mortgage. On the other end, you can rent out top and bottom units, and you got it. And so a lot of people, you need to do the math in your local market as into how much it'll cost to renovate. So if a duplex in your market is selling for $750, as I've just shown, and if you can find a single family house with an unfinished basement for like $5,000, then you should know that, hey, it's going to take about $50,000, $60,000 to finish the basement. So you're sitting at $560. So you still save that much money, and you could still have 2 units. So that's just a thought. And on my next video, I'm going to show you another way that you can benefit from being creative and doing things more creatively than just a typical duplex, especially in an expensive market. All right, guys, wait for that next video. That'll be in the next couple of days. All right, thanks.